and welcome to Ida and her books. I'm Ida and these are my books. Today we will be talking about tropes in books that I really hate, or at least very much dislike. I have a list on my phone, so I will remember what I have. We will start from the beginning. Tropes that I dislike. First one is that fat equals ugly, or that ugly equals a bad person, evil person. That none of the main characters are allowed to be bigger than a model. They're always really thin, they're always really small. I don't like that. It's unrealistic that every single person who is a nice person is thin. And it's equally unrealistic that just because you're overweight, you're ugly. But they all always come like grouped together. For example, in the Percy Jackson series that I just recently finished, Clarice in the first book gets introduced as I don't remember exact wording, but it was also in Swedish. But she's a big girl. She's tall, she's strong, she's broad-shouldered. She's like a big girl, a big person. And she's also described as extremely ugly. She's also really mean. Why does it have to be like that? I don't understand. I don't like it. Next trope I dislike is sex in books. I don't like reading about it. I'm not interested. It's, especially when it's very detailed, it's just, ugh. I get it, people have sex, whatever, but I'm like, you can just say like, oh, they went and did nasty, and then you can move on. You don't need to have like several pages or a chapter dedicated to it. It gets on my nerves. I don't like it. Especially not in audiobooks, because it's just weird. Third trope I dislike is love triangles, because they are always very unnatural. It's never presented in a way that seems realistic. It's always two people who are insanely in love with the same girl or the same guy or whatever, and that person who they're madly in love with can't choose between them. I mean, what are the odds? Do you know how many people walk around having an unrequited crush on someone? And the main character of this book just happens to be in love with two people, and those two people are in love with her back. No, I don't believe it. Especially not when when they fall in love with her right away. It's bundle up with one that comes later, insta love, when they fall in love with her as soon as they see her. Next trope I don't like is forced love plots, forced romances in books. I don't like when you have an amazing adventure story or whatever and people have to fall in love with each other. It's unnecessary. It doesn't have to be there. People don't have to fall in love just because they spend time together. My favorite example of this is the Dan Brown books. Especially since it's a new girl in every book, even though the previous book ended and it seemed like they would have a nice relationship, and by the start of the next book that girl never gets mentioned again. But they fell in love during that mission, and it was amazing. And they spent like 2 days together. So it's a mix of everything. But the fact that they have to fall in love, they have to have a relationship. You can have a book without the love story. It's fine. Next trope is men writing women badly. And I don't think they do this on purpose. But bear with me, I have an example of this. This is a book that I DNF'd recently, Mörkesikt, by Johannes Källström. It's a couple of short stories, horror short stories. And I like to tell you how they start. First one is about a man. Starts with an action, something he's doing. He's at an auction, he's buying stuff. Next story starts with an action. He's by the water and is doing something. Third story is about a woman. First one out of like 6. That's about a woman. It starts like this. She was very beautiful. She caresses her brown soft skin, takes her hand over her thighs, her wrists, her hips, the flat stomach, the arms, cupping her breasts. That's how this story starts, with her just ogling herself in the mirror. And then, after she decides that she's very pretty, it says she's in a hurry. But if she's in a hurry, why was she ogling herself in the mirror? None of the men have been doing the ogling. Story after that starts with an action. Waking up in bed. And the last story starts with an action. So you see the difference between writing male characters as doing stuff, and the female character is very passive. I didn't even read the entire stories. I read the first one and was very angry throughout the entire thing, and half of the next one, and then started skipping to see if any other ones were interesting, and they weren't. You should be able to write a female character exactly like you would write a male, with just some slight tweaks. It shouldn't be that hard, but apparently it is. And it bugs me, because finding books about good female characters is difficult. Next trope, I just wrote harem. Harem? What I mean by that, it's a very common trope in manga, but it occurs in books as well. It builds on the love triangles, that every single character is in love with the main character. I have several examples. One of them I also have here. I never remember the name of this one. Book of the Dead by Patricia Cornwell. And now this is like the 15th book in a series. It's a crime novel, and they usually are very independent from each other, apart from like personal relationships and stuff. And so in the beginning of this book, you find out that 3 separate male characters are in love with or attracted to the main character. Why? Why is she so special? I don't get it. It's annoying. Especially when one of them decides to be an angry little baby about the fact that she doesn't like him. I stopped reading that one too. Another example is Marked, or the House of Night series by P.C. Cast and Christine Cast. This book, I read the first like 10, 8, I don't remember, books when I was younger. And oh my god. She has like 5 love interests. 5! Every single male character introduced into these books falls in love with the main character. And I don't understand why. I don't like it. It's also unrealistic. Like, why? Why would that happen? Next one, already mentioned, insta-love. When someone falls in love within like minutes of meeting this person. I also don't like when they say like within days, and they say they love each other more than anything. And it's just unrealistic. It's like this. You develop stronger feelings for people that you spend a lot of time with. That makes sense. That is true. That is science. And so if you are on a dangerous adventure and spend 2 full days, like 48 hours, in the company of one certain person only during these 48 hours, you're probably gonna have some feelings. It doesn't have to be love, but you're gonna get quite close, I think. But to then profess your undying love for this person after 48 hours, no. Better if it's been like 2 weeks. If you spend 24/7 with someone for 2 weeks, yeah, you can have some pretty strong feelings for each other. But still, I think people go so fast in books. It's like people get married within months, and it's just, I know. It's like you can have people talk about love at first sight, and yes, you can be attracted to someone, like physically attracted to someone at first sight, fine. but you know nothing about them. And even if you spend these 48 hours with them in an intense situation, and you spend every hour of the day with them, you still don't know them. You only know what they're like in this certain situation. So you don't know what you're getting into. Next trope I don't like. And the last three are, at least these two, are sort of similar, but I'm taking them separately. First one, no diversity. Specifically about race. And it's so easy, apparently, to write books about all white people. And as a white person, it didn't really bother me until recently. These last couple of years, when I started thinking about it, and I started reading about representation and reading stories from other people who are discriminated against and who do not get to see themselves represented. And I notice it more and more, and it's really stupid. And in fantasy, it's so easy to say, yeah, but these elves are a representation for these people because blah blah. But no, they're not, they're elves. You can't replace, I don't know, black people with elves or dwarves or whatever. It doesn't work that way. Next one, similar subject, heteronormativity. That every single person is straight, they're cis, and there's nothing, there's no one else. And even if there is like a gay character or something, it's usually like one of those who are not in the story very much. It's like tucked away in a corner somewhere. In this book, I think the main character's niece is in a relationship with another woman, and I'm like, that's cool, that's fun, but why can never the main character be? And why only like one person? Why not more? I read a lot about books and diversity overall and such, and it's very easy to find communities with only LGBT people, where there are no straights. Why? Because they find each other and they stick together because they feel like they don't belong with the straights, who usually are like homophobes or transphobes and just doesn't treat them very well. I said they, I mean we. So if you have one gay character, you should have more, because that's realistic. Last one, and this is a bunch of tropes mixed into one, and I just call it toxic masculinity. All from possessive behavior in relationships, where men say, I own you, you belong to me, you are mine, to aggressive behavior, where they are punching walls or acting out or screaming or yelling or throwing things, which is also a type of abuse. Or any other type of behavior that is so unhealthy but presented to be romantic in one way or another. And it's not the best example, but example of one part of it. In this book, the main character is together, she's married to a werewolf. And close to the end in the book, and you notice it very, very early on, but she says it outright by the end of the book, that sleeping with her husband is her wifely duty. Because when he wants to have sex, she just has to go with it. There's no stopping him. And very often in the beginning of the book, if she was trying to talk with him about something important, talk to him about something important, or have an argument or something, he would just jump her in bed and just not ignore the problem. And that's not healthy. Also very jealous, very possessive. He's not very nice. And I just don't like that. I don't want men to be portrayed in media and books in a way that makes people think it's okay to act that way in real life, or think it's okay if your partner acts like that in real life, because it can get dangerous, and I don't really approve. So I try to avoid books like that. And those are 10, I think that is, tropes in books that I dislike very much, and I get so very annoyed when they pop up. And some books can still be readable, but I will be very angry at that part of the book, or very annoyed, or very tired of reading it. And yeah, I got to rant a little bit. I feel a little better. And yeah, that's all I had for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below with what tropes you like or dislike, if you agree or disagree with anything I said. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!